Good evening. We're going to call the August meeting of Board of Zoning to order. Sorry, my head's someplace else. Liz, would you call roll call, please?
Here.
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 All right. Let's, if everyone will rise for the pledge, please. All right, thank you. The next item on our list is to approve the meeting agenda. First of all, are there any corrections or additions to this, Adam?
No, ma'am.
All right, I'm looking for a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll move to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, we also have somewhere, do we have the meeting? Oh, no, that's the one page. That's why it looks so. Okay, okay. So the meeting minutes of July the 25th, has the board had an opportunity to look over them? Are there any additions or corrections? Okay, looking for a motion then to approve last month's meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve last month's meeting minutes.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, the first item on the case tonight, or on the docket tonight, is case number variance 05-2024, 750 West Garden Street, and this is in regards to the Flatrock Self-Storage. It's continued from our July meeting. So Adam, could you give us the presentation on that, please?
All right. Good evening. For the record, I'm Adam Zaklikowski, the Planning and Building Director for the town of Fortville. The first case before you tonight is one that had been continued from July. This is the Flatrock Self-Storage variance request. So specifically, you're being asked to consider a petition by Don Fisher of Insight Engineering on behalf of M.A.C. Holdings LLC to approve various development standards variances for a proposed self-storage project at 750 West Garden Street. The project size is approximately 8.2 acres, and it would contain 11 self-storage buildings. There's a future commercial retail or office building that would be planned to the east. In addition to this, that would be shown on a future separate site plan. Just for some background on this project, it had been under two previous owners. The previous owner was granted a permit for the civil construction in 2021. But as many of you have probably observed, that civil infrastructure was installed except for the pavement. The building permits were never issued for the buildings because the prior owner put it on hold. And so that 2021 permit expired. And there were some variances that were granted in 2019 related to the project, which have also thus expired. Just for reference, the current owner is also developing the Stormore self-storage that's under construction right now to the west of this property. So in terms of the variances that they're asking for, that they're needing, there would be 6 of them, and we'll go into detail on each of those. The other bit of background or history on this project is that the concept site plan was approved by the Plan Commission on June 25th. And of course, their approval is subject to variance approval by the BZA as necessary. And the concept landscape, the elevations, the lighting, all of those concept plans were approved just a few days ago on August 27th by the Plan Commission. If we take a look at the oblique aerial, you can see the lay of the land. And of course, we can always refer back to these as necessary. But off to the north, there are some houses that front onto Garden Street. Off to the west, you can see in this photo, the Stormore project, which is on the CLM property. It's all owned by A.C. Matt Holdings, being under construction there. There's a Duke and Wabash Valley Power Association property that's to the southwest. It's a substation. And then off to the east, there are some residential homes. And then, of course, off to the south, we have the CSX railroad line and then Broadway or US 36. If we take a look at the zoning map, you can see that the parcel in question, shown by the star here, is zoned light industrial. Off to the east, it's commercial neighborhood, even though there are residential uses there. Off to the west, the CLM Pallet Company, Stormore, that's a grandfathered zoning of I-2. And then off to the north, there's some residential property zone R2.5. So if we take a look at these recent site photos, you can see this is if you're standing at the property and you're looking to the west down Garden Street. Let me just see. There is Nathan. And then this is looking into the interior of the project. And then for reference, here's that Stormore building that's under construction, because the architecture, just for reference, of these buildings that they're looking to build will be very similar to this. Not quite as tall, but similar use of materials, especially out along West Garden Street. If we take a look at the site plan, you can see the main climate controlled building, the fully enclosed building. That would be in the northwest portion of the site. And then the other 10 buildings would all be towards the southern portion of the site. And I had mentioned that future retail building that would be out in this area over here at some point in the future. So in terms of the variance request before you tonight, more specifically, the first variance involves the east setback or the buffer yard. And they're required by ordinance ordinarily to have a 25-foot setback plus a 25-foot buffer yard. So they'd have to have 50 feet. And then they'd also have to have a certain number of deciduous evergreen trees, shrubs, and then a 6-foot tall fence or a mound. The applicant desires an 18-foot wide setback total, as shown on the site plan, with 15 spruce trees, plus utilizing the existing trees that are there as well. And so more specifically, here's the portion of the plan that we're talking about. The second variance has to do with the south setback or the buffer yard. First, although the south side of the property is the rear of the project, it's considered to be a side setback, since Shaw Street or 300 West over to the west is a front setback. So same thing here, is they'd have to do ordinarily a 25-foot setback, plus they'd have to have a 25-foot buffer yard, because believe it or not, the railroad track is technically zoned neighborhood commercial. So they'd have to have 50 feet ordinarily. And they'd have to put in a certain number of trees and shrubs. And what they're looking for is to have a 45-foot wide setback or landscaped area as shown on the site plan. And then, as was discussed and approved at the last Plan Commission meeting, instead of doing the pine trees instead of doing spruce trees along the railroad tracks, they'd like to plant Tannenbaum Yugo pine trees, which would be spaced 8 foot apart at planting, and they would grow to about 12 feet high. So if you take a look at this street view image that was taken during the month of November back in 2022, you can see it is somewhat bare during that time of year. So the Plan Commission wanted to have some evergreen trees back there, and the applicant worked with Duke Energy to make sure that the types of plants that they were looking to put back there aren't going to conflict with the power lines that they have. The third variance has to do with the southwest setback or the buffer yard, and this is the portion around that Duke Energy substation. Again, ordinarily, they'd have to have a 50-foot setback. They'd have to have a certain number of trees, shrubs, et cetera. And simply put, they're looking to have a 10-foot wide setback area with no trees in that area. And as you can see here, this is just a zoomed in aerial of the transformer substation. The fourth one, they're looking for a west setback along Shaw Street of 5 to 10 feet wide. Ordinarily, they'd have to do a 50-foot front yard setback there. The fifth one is the zoning ordinance requires that in this area of town, they'd have to have a sidewalk of no less than 8 feet wide that must be provided along the full length of the building, along any facade that features a customer entrance. And in this case, they're looking to do a 5 to 6 foot wide setback. So you can see that setback, the sidewalk would be right over here, wrap around the building. And then lastly, they're seeking relief from having to install a curb along Garden Street and Shaw Street. Our ordinance requires that all road frontage, drive aisles, and parking lots shall be curbed with concrete. In terms of the decision criteria for development standard variances, it's based on Indiana code. And as you'll probably remember, there's 3 different tests that you're asked to consider. The first would be general welfare, that the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. The second one is that the adjacent property, that the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. And then the third item is practical difficulty, that the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in a practical difficulty in the use of the property. No known remonstrance to these variances. All of the public hearing notification requirements, which included a newspaper ad, a public hearing sign, a mailing, those have all been completed. Based on that, I believe that the decision criteria has been met on all 3 of those items, and I'd recommend that you approve the variance request. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. All right. Do we have any questions? Does the board have any questions to Adam regarding any of these 6 development standard variances?
Could you explain the curbing area a little bit better?
Sure. So in our ordinance, there is a requirement that the streets along which a project is located, that if there are no curbs in that area, part of the requirement is to put a curb in. In the case of Garden Street, there's no curb there today. So they're seeking relief from that. And then in the case of Shaw Street over here. This is technically a public street, although it does not continue forward. It does not continue to the south beyond the railroad tracks, and would remain as a gravel road, really only providing access to the substation, and then of course to the there will be, I think, emergency access, if I recall, to the west. So ordinarily, they would have to at least put a curb in along Garden Street. In this particular case, my opinion would be that not having to do it here would be acceptable because the road is in pretty, I don't think it's in the greatest of condition in that area right now anyway. So there's a potential that the road may have to be repaired at some point. And so to put in a curb can be challenging on an existing road. So not to say it can't be done, it has been done before, but in this particular case, my opinion is that probably isn't necessary.
All right, to follow that up, if relief was given for this variance for no curbing, because none of the other properties along there have it, at any time would we make them come and do it at some point? Or if this road gets repaired, it would just be rolled into a road repair project?
The latter. So
Okay.
if you were to approve that variance tonight, there would be no obligation to do it in association with this project. Now, with the caveat, I suppose maybe when the retail building comes in, you may be able, if whether
If
the
things
Plan
have moved
Commission,
ahead,
BZA,
right.
be able to get it as part of that, but definitely would not be required for this.
For this project. Okay, all right. Anybody else have any questions on these 6 items? All right, let's see here. Then I have time in the agenda for the petitioner. If they want to add any additional information to these 6 relief of development standards, just say and spell your name and how you represent the case.
Hello, my name is Don Fisher. I'm with Insight Engineering, and I'm here representing M.A.C Holdings. My last name is spelled Fisher. And you may recall from when we were here previously that the proposed site plan is the same site plan that was previously approved and the infrastructure was constructed to match that. So our plan and proposal is to construct the buildings, in essence, the same buildings in the same place, besides changing the appearance of them to look nicer. We got stopped before because I think 2 days before the BZA, we got a notice from Duke Energy telling us that they were concerned about location of the buildings, even though they'd been approved before to their power lines. We went through some pretty exhaustive meetings and studies with them, and the determination was there is no conflict with the power lines or the location of any of the stuff relative to the proposed buildings. And one thing on the curb, excuse me, since Garden Street was constructed as a no curb roadway years and years ago, it's not set up for having curbs. If you look at streets with curbs, they generally will slope down to an inlet, back up, back down, back up. And this is just pretty much level, sheet draining off. And what happens when I've seen this many times, preferably, hopefully not on my projects, but they'll put a curb in and then it traps water because there is no design for the water to go anywhere. So if it was to be rebuilt at some future time to have curbs and inlets, then it would be changed. Right now, the public water drains off into our detention ponds, which normally, if a public street has to contain their own water and deal with it and take it to a stream, right now you're relying on us to manage your water. So adding curbs adds a lot of complications this time. The variances being requested here are the exact same ones that were requested with the previous design and approved prior. So with that, I will entertain any questions you might have.
All right, does the board have any questions for him? All right, you know the drill, have a seat. If we have any follow-ups, we'll let you know. All right, let's see here. I think I have, the next is public response. And that could be if you have any comments for or against this project. If you do, just raise your hand and we'll have you come up to the mic and state your concerns or questions. All right, looks like I have no takers. Now we have time for government officials. And I'm seeing a shaking of a head no. Sometimes I get them up here, but not always. All right. Well, unless our board has any additional questions either for the petitioner or for Adam, I will task one of you. Yes, and Nathan has joined us. Oh, wait a minute, we do have, come up to the microphone, please. The only reason we have you do that is so we can have it on public record and we can actually hear. So the microphone's over here. Yes, over here, huh?
Angel Thompson at 205 East Michigan, which I've been there for probably maybe 45, 50 years. And they have put a new house right on our fence line. And we didn't realize when they did it, it's supposed to be 6 feet away from the fence. And that's our fence. So we're
What is your address again?
5 East Michigan.
Is this going to match at one of the other cases? Okay, I'm going to have you come back up. This will be on one of the other cases that will be up tonight. That way we'll be able to tie it together. So yeah, go ahead and have a seat and then we'll bring you back up. All right, thank you. Okay, so I should have been a little clearer. Does anybody have any comments or questions on this particular case? Okay, all right. Want to make sure everybody's heard. So I guess now I think I'm to the point now that we are looking for one of our board members, and we have one on Zoom, to make a motion to approve these, and I think we can do them all in 6 at the same time since we've had no rebuttals on them. So I'm looking for a motion to either approve of conditions or deny the 6 development standards variances.
I'll move to approve 6 development standard variances at 750 West Garden Street.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Didn't hear you, Nathan. Let's try that again.
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, motion carries. I just got to make sure we get it for the record because I'm sure Alex will let me know. All right, that one passes. Let's move on then to, oh, and board members, don't forget about your paperwork. I'm sure Nathan can take care of that when he gets back in. The second one on our agenda tonight is a new case. It's variance 06-2024, 746 Commerce Parkway, Crown Coating. Adam, could you give us the presentation on this one?
Oops, I'm sorry.
All right, for your second case tonight, this is a request by Michael Crouse, Senior of M.A.C. Holdings LLC for the BZA to hold a public hearing and approve 2 development standards variances. The first one is a driveway opening of 50 feet wide instead of 28 feet wide maximum allowed under the zoning ordinance. And then secondly, no parking lot curbing as ordinarily required. And this pertains to a proposed parking lot repair / expansion at 746 Commerce Parkway. The zoning on the property is Industrial 1, and that's a grandfathered zoning district. An improvement location permit for the parking lot improvements was issued back in 2022, but that has expired. And if we take a look at the aerial exhibit, the property is located right out here to the east of Town Hall. And if we take a look at this bird's eye view, this is looking towards the east. You can see the building in question and the parking lot in the forefront here. If we take a look at some of the ground photos, you can see the silt fencing was installed a while back when they were doing the project. Just wasn't completed. And then this is a picture from the parking lot, of course, looking to the north. If we take a look at the parking lot more specifically, it meets all of the other requirements except for, you can see the width over here is shown at 50 feet. Ordinance doesn't allow over 28 feet. And then secondly, ordinarily, they'd have to put a curb all the way around the entire parking edge. They are putting it within the right of way is what they're proposing, but not beyond that. And actually, I think it would be up to the easement line. Basically, the radius, as we'll call it, of the entrance would be curbed. In terms of the decision criteria, again, based on state law, first one under general welfare. In my professional opinion, there's no evidence support that any of these items would be impacted. For the second test, the adjacent property test, similar, there's no evidence to support that any of those items would be impacted in terms of having a negative or an adverse manner to any adjacent properties. And then for the practical difficulty, strict application of the terms of the ordinance would result in a practical difficulty in the use of the property. My advice would be that a 50-foot entrance in this case will allow for more ease for tractor trailers entering the site. And it is for an existing site. They are making improvements to the property and an investment in the property. As for the lack of curbing, again, this is an existing site and an existing industrial park, and most lots, if not all, in this older industrial park do not have parking lot curbs anyway. In terms of the community response, again, all the public hearing notification requirements were completed, newspaper ads, sign, mailing, not aware of any remonstrance. So based on that, my recommendation would be that you approve the two variances as each of them meet A, B, and C of the decision criteria. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. Property owner as well as engineer are here as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. All right, to start off then, do any of the board have any questions for Adam from the presentation? I've got a quick one. So right now, what's existing, there's no curbing, there's no, it's just kind of like a gravel parking lot, or is there concrete or? Yeah,
Yep.
it's gravel. Okay.
Gravel.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. All right. Will they need to do any drainage if?
Yes, they've already, if you see over here in this orange construction fence, these were actually drain inlets that were
Okay.
put in, and they're being protected right now, so there's no silt that goes into them. But to answer your question, yes, the Hancock County Surveyor's Office is in the process of reviewing the plans.
Okay.
And we'd issue the permit after they give the go-ahead. All of the stormwater would eventually make its way to that dry retention basin that's literally just to the east
Okay,
of this property.
all right.
See a little bit on this area over here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Does any of our other board members have any questions?
And there's no requirement to blacktop the parking lot to cut down on dust or things of that nature.
Yes, they'll have to pave it. That is a requirement. They're not seeking any relief from that. It would be asphalt.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else, including our Zoom member? Okay. All right, we have, if not, then we're going to move on. We have time for the petitioner to be able to come up and fill in any gaps if you like. Just say and state your name and how you represent the case and
My name's Michael Crouse. I own Fortville Feeders and Crown Building next door. Been there 35 years, so I'm quite aware of all the issues that we have in this area. Adam, I apologize, but I'm actually here to get a change to what we designed. You asked us to put 50-foot. We couldn't have a 60-foot, anything wider or anything narrower than 28 feet. If you look at the new traffic we have with the swimming pool, Mr. Camus, which is a good friend of mine, the street is very narrow out there for the swimming pools and a semi to go into Crown and try to make it through a 28-foot wide opening. I have pictures here if you'd like to see them. I've had semis out here. And the last semi that I had here was 76 feet long. I require him to turn into my parking lot and stay in the right-hand lane and turn into my parking lot and stay off my curb and off my grass. I also have a sign out here for Fortville Feeders that I have enforced for 30 years, that they're to stay off the easement, which actually belongs to the town. It looks like my yard, but I deeded that to the town, and I don't want to see any traffic in that yard either, nor do I want to see them in your police parking lot. And I police that every day. And I police the street for all the trucks that taking the pools in and out to make certain that they too don't get into the grass and the lawn. And you will see if you go out there, there are no tracks. I police it, not the police, nobody else. So I'm very particular. But I'm asking for my 60-foot wide cut so a semi could pull into my driveway. And I've had it tested. I have pictures of it. They're not very good, but I can retest it if you'd like to see it. It's not possible for them to turn in and not hit the curbs that we're putting in. And I don't want them close to them, let alone. And I don't see what it matters. It's all, it's my land. It's not the town's. And it's just been a gravel pit forever. So I am, because I'm doing it for semis, the asphalt's gonna be 10 inches thick. So it's quite a project. But it's also, Fortville Feeders uses that because for some reason, the semis seem to keep getting longer. So when we get semis over here backing into our dock, sometimes they block this entire street and not even a car can get down it. Believe it or not, I had an 81-foot semi pull in here 2 weeks ago. 81 foot. I don't know what the limit is getting for semis in this country, but we do get semis that come in from out of state to pick our stuff up and deliver it. So, but I think when they get that long, we can accommodate them next door. I have a dock over there also. So these are all my issues. I'm not complaining at the town at all. You should be complaining at me. So I'm trying to fix them. But the other thing I am requesting, Adam, and I apologize for bringing it up here, but it's I want to do the curb cut because we drive tow motors across the street with heavy loads on it. And the two curbs we've already cut, and I can show you pictures of those. You approved for us to do those last year, and they worked out quite well, but they're diagonal. We want them to go straight across so we can not go diagonal across the street. It's safer to go straight across with a load on a tow motor going across the curb. So I'm actually asking for the same curb cut for that so the curb is for a tow motor is not so abrupt. And again, we done two of them over there last year with approval.
All right, thank you.
And
Yep.
the
Anything
curb
else?
cut is, it's just a waste as far as I'm concerned. Nobody, including the town's property, don't have a curb around your parking lot or down a yard in this whole area. It's not been done. At the street they are, and we're doing one at the street too. So that's my request.
Okay, all right, thank you.
bet.
We may have you come back up if we have some follow-up questions, so,
Okay.
all right, thank you. Okay, so before I move on much further, Adam, will this be an amended request since this deviates from the presentation? I guess I'm looking for,
Yeah, I would say a couple things. So first for the to widen it from 50 up to 60. I wouldn't have any objection to that if he wants an extra 10 feet. But I'll leave that up to you guys.
okay,
For the curb cut, what he's saying is that and I was looking to see if it showed up in one of the pictures, but it didn't. He put in a concrete pad or driveway along a portion of the building, and to have forklifts go from his business at Fortville Feeders to this building. He wanted the curb kind of shaved down there near the
Okay.
gutter, the concrete gutter, if I recall correctly. And that's kind of what he wants to do here. What I would say for the second issue is I don't have any issues with it. It's not a BZA issue. It's really up to the town manager, who functions also as our public works director, since that's in our technical standards. So for that issue, again, it's not your purview, but we can talk to Joe about it. And if he's amenable to it, then take it from there.
okay,
And now lastly, in theory, if Joe said no, and Mr. Crouse was really adamant that it needs to be this certain way, then I think he has the ability to go to the town council to appeal that decision. But Joe, as we know, Joe's pretty reasonable to work with. So that's how I'd recommend handling it.
okay. So really in our purview tonight would be increasing the inlet from 50 to 60. And we really don't need to vote or do anything about the curb cut. That would be between the town and Mr. Crouse.
Correct. Town
Oh.
manager and Mr. Crouse. Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right. All right. All right, so moving forward then, get this train back on the track. Let's see here. So I had the petitioner up. We have time for public response on this case. Do we have anybody on this particular case? Do we have any public that would like to say anything for or against or comments? And this could be including anybody that might be on Zoom as well. Okay, I'm showing no. Government officials, do I have any comments from a government official on this one? Okay, getting shaking of the head, no. All right, well, last chance to ask any clarification questions, either of the petitioner or from Adam from the board. Okay, well, it's time to have one of you make a motion.
I'll move to approve the case number variance 06-2024 Crown Coatings with the notation that we would change the entrance from 50 foot to 60 foot.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Nathan, can you unmute that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Sorry, sometimes I can't, it looks like Nathan's on a lag here, wherever he might be. But we're happy you're here. So I'm not complaining. Give us 1 second to fill out this paperwork and then we'll move on to the next case. 50. Okay. All right. That is the next one, yes. I believe, let me see. Yes. All right, third case tonight before us is variance 07-2024, located at 102 South Merrill Street. This is Rivers Financial. I will run the meeting on this, but I will recuse myself because Mr. Rivers is actually my client. So I'll take you through the paces though. So Adam, can you give us the presentation on this, please?
Sure. And also for the record, we would have to have, because we only have 4 members present, we'd have to have, all 3 would have to vote in unison for it to pass. So, all right, let's see. Bear with me 1 second. All right, so the next case before you is a request by Travis Rivers of LT Squared Properties LLC, the property owner, seeking approval of a use variance to allow Rivers Financial, which is a tax and accounting office, use of an existing home at 102 South Merrill Street within an area zoned residential 3.5. The property would be used for the office use exclusively, so no residential use on the property anymore is being proposed. The business is currently located in Fortville. It's on West Broadway Street, just west of Gardner's. And the state issued what's called a Rule 13 approval, which is similar to a construction design release as part of the construction plans for the project. If we take a look at the aerial, you can see it's the house that within the last few years, they put 1898 on the roof. It's just to the west of a municipally owned parking lot. It's kind of diagonally across the street from the VFW, American Legion. And it's right up against the railroad tracks. And if you look to the south, to the west, to the north, it's all residential homes. And if we take a look at the zoning map, this whole area, everything in yellow is residential 3.5, and then everything in red is community commercial. So basically right across the street, it is community commercial, but technically this whole area are 3.5. If we take a look at some ground photos of the property, you can see the building, of course. The detached garage, there's a gravel driveway. And then just from another vantage point. And here's another image. In terms of what the petitioner is looking to do on the site, obviously his need for parking is very low. We're told that it could be basically just himself and probably a client at any point. So there could be 2 vehicles. And presumably those 2 vehicles would park in this area by the garage. There's also ample on-street parking that is nearby. This area over here is they would be providing 1 space that would be for ADA parking. And they would be putting in an ADA ramp in front for that with ADA signage as well. In terms of the decision criteria, it's a little bit different for use variances, but again, it is based on Indiana code. So the first one again is general welfare. My assessment is that there's no evidence to support that any of those items mentioned in general welfare would be impacted. For the adjacent property test, I say again, no evidence to support that any of these items would be impacted. Keep in mind that the structure would still retain its historic character, and it is along a main route of Merrill Street. The third one for use variances is need. The need for the variance arises from some condition peculiar to the property involved. I'd say this is an existing historic residential structure in an existing residential block. Item D, hardship, that strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will constitute an unnecessary hardship if applied to the property for which the variance is sought. I'd say that an accounting office use is still a low impact use, which will not generate much traffic, and it's along a main route in the town. And then the last component is comprehensive plan, that the approval does not interfere substantially with the comprehensive plan adopted. The comprehensive plan of the town shows this block as residential and the zoning would remain in place. But as we mentioned, it's also in close proximity to the Main Street area. In terms of remonstrance, all the public hearing notification requirements have been completed. We're not aware of any remonstrance. One of the neighbors that was on the north side of the railroad tracks did call me. She just wanted to know what the letter was about in the mail and explained it to her, and she didn't appear to have any objections. So based on that, I believe that it meets all the decision criteria, and I would recommend that you approve it. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address those. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. All right, does our board have any questions to Adam for this? All right. We have the petitioner here. Would you like to come up and say anything fill in the blanks or anything in case any other questions arise? Just say and spell your name and how you represent the case.
Yeah, so I'm Travis Rivers, the owner of Rivers Financial Services here in Fortville. We bought the current business off of Robert Geyer in 2018 and have been operating out of the space in the old Bundy's grocery store area since that time. So mine and my wife's goal was to eventually find a place in town for us to have a place of our own instead of paying rent to a landlord. We plan on being here long-term. Our kids are students at Mount Vernon schools, so we don't have any idea of wanting to move or pack up or anytime soon. So this property came available in May. We closed on it in June, and that's our ultimate goal, is just to move the accounting office there. We're typically only busy from late January to April 15th. During the summer, we're only open Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesday mornings, just because there's not a lot of tax work being done in the off season. So I think since May, there's probably been 4 clients into the office between now and May. So it's very low traffic during the off season, but during the tax season, there'd just be people there for their appointments.
All right.
That's it.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Rivers?
Now, are there going to be architectural improvements to this on the outside?
Yes, so we have to widen the door to accommodate ADA requirements with the state, and I believe it's a 32-inch door, and we have to go to a 36 or,
Correct.
yep. So we have to go to a wider door. The only other interior design that we have to change is put an exhaust fan in the bathroom and exit signs.
What about the parking lot area? Will that be paved? And
We've got a quote in to have it paved, but we have not got that estimate back to us, but that's our goal.
okay.
Okay, any other questions? All right, I'll have you have a seat. We may or may not bring you back up. All right, thank you. Time for public response for or against this project, if there's anybody here in the audience or in Zoom. Okay. Government official, again, shaking the head no. All right, so since we don't have any additional questions for Mr. Rivers, do we have any clarifications, questions from Adam from the board?
One thing that I would add is, it sounded like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not necessarily a certainty that the driveway would be paved. As you know, any new driveways in town, in most zoning districts require paved surfaces. ADA always requires a paved surface. What I would recommend is to, if you're inclined to approve the request, is to require that the driveway be paved either with asphalt or concrete. This will take care of the ADA issue, but also from aesthetics, if you saw some from the pictures, the downside with gravel is that there can be a lot of weeds that pop up. So it'll be easier for him to maintain as well. So I think that's it would be a fair condition to put on this, just require pavement.
All right. Do you have any additional comments to that, Mr. Rivers? Okay, all right, just want to circle back around with you then. Okay, then we are to the portion where I am looking for a motion to approve with conditions, or deny this request.
I would move to approve case number variance 07-2024-102 South Merrill Street with the condition that the parking lot is paved or concreted in.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I abstain. All right, congratulations. It's approved. All right, give them a minute to fill out their paperwork and we will move to the next. To the last, we have 2 more. This is a busy night. Typically, we don't have this many. You're free to go, unless you just really want to hang out and listen to the rest. or not. All right, thank you. Okay. All right, the next one on the agenda is variance 08-2024, 217 East Michigan Street. Adam, can you take us through the presentation on that?
All right. So for this particular case, this is a request by Matt Hill of MJ Hill Properties LLC, is the property owner, to allow an addition closer than the required 6 feet to a side property line at 217 East Michigan. The property is zoned residential 3.5, and it's within the Old Town overlay. So a 6-foot setback from the eave to the property line is required per the ordinance. Now, the addition was constructed without a permit in 2022 by a previous owner, and the town issued a stop work order to that owner. Mr. Hill, the new owner, has filed for proper permits, although he went ahead and put new siding on the home as part of remodeling. No permit is needed for siding. However, it is on the illegal addition. So if we take a look at the aerial exhibit, this whole area is all zoned residential 3.5. And you can see it's on the north side of Michigan between School Street and Leland. So this is a 2022 photo. That was when the property was under the previous owner. So you can see the condition of it. And then here's what was sort of started by that previous owner. And I would say the technical term is it was pretty messed up. If we take a look, you can see how close the addition is to the property line. Now, the property hasn't been surveyed. We don't know exactly where those property pins are. So we're just kind of operating that the fence is more or less on the property line, although, like I said, we don't know exactly where it is. But it's definitely, as you can see, closer than 6 feet to the fence. I circled this right here. You can see this was the addition that was put on this newer concrete. So you can see they expanded the footprint of the house by, probably a foot or two. This is a 2024 photo. This is what the current owner has done today. You can see that the house is definitely much improved. And he also received an electrical permit to do some rewiring of the homes. And I think there was some electricity in that addition that may have been permitted as part of it. But you can see that area of the newer concrete that was put there and the proximity to the adjoining property. So the decision criteria, flipping back to development standards variances, there's just those 3 of them. General welfare, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community. In my opinion, there's no evidence to support that any of those items would be impacted. Secondly, for the adjacent property test, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner. My opinion is that there's no evidence to support that any of these items would be impacted. The house to the west is nearly 90 feet away. And lastly, practical difficulty, that the strict application of the terms of the ordinance will result in a practical difficulty in the use of the property. And my assessment is that the siding has already been put on the home, electrical has been placed in the home. Cutting off a few feet on the addition would cause a lot of expense, presumably, for little benefit. In terms of the community response, all the public hearing notification requirements have been met: newspaper ad, sign, mailing, that's all been done. In discussion with the adjoining neighbor, Miss Angel Thompson, who was up here earlier, I'm sure will come back. I don't want to put words in her mouth, but I just want to document it. It sounded like she seemingly did not like having the addition so close to her property line to begin with, although she seemed, I think, generally pleased that the house is being renovated. So based on that, my advice would be to approve the request, as I believe it meets the 3 criteria under state law. So with that, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to address them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Adam. All right. As always, I do have questions. So the previous owners are the ones that expanded the footprint of the house, and then did the new owners also put an additional expansion on it as well?
No, the new owners just put on siding.
Oh, they kept the same
Siding
footprint.
is, yes,
Okay,
they kept the footprint of the illegal addition.
you just want to make sure. So he purchased it already expanded.
Correct.
Okay. All right. All right, does any of the other board members have any questions for Adam on this one? And you said I did hear you say that there is no survey on this.
I don't believe so.
So we just assume that the fence hopefully is the property line, but nobody really knows.
That's correct.
Unless unless the property neighbor can attest to that. So we'll get to you here in a minute. I'm just trying to lay some groundwork here.
So that's why I didn't.
Yeah. I see.
So essentially, if you were inclined to approve it, you're basically just legalizing
What's
there now.
already there. Okay. And I'm assuming it's not this property that owns the fence, it's the neighbor, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay, and I'll clarify that with them here in a minute. Okay, does anyone else aside from me have any questions? Right. All right. Is the petitioner here for this property tonight? Okay, I never know who it is. Would you like to come up and say anything, please? Say and spell your name and how you represent the project, please.
All right, so my name's Matt Hill, M-A-T-T-H-I-L. Yeah, difficult.
That's
to spell.
easy.
Easy. Anyway, my wife and I live right off of Merrill Street. We've been here for about 3 years. We love Fortville. We have 2 little ones, and I'm a full-time occupational therapist, so that's what I do for a living. Maybe I'd say in the last 6 months, I've gotten really serious about doing some more real estate investing, and came across this property on Facebook. I drive by that property going up to Pendleton every day. And when it came across, being a real estate investor, I was like, you know what, it's in my hometown now. It's where we want to be. Why not? Let's see what happens. So we found an agreed upon price. We purchased it. I think it was in July, early July. At that point, I started applying for permits, started, asking Jerry, I don't know how to say his last name, Santine, or, what we can do without permits, just so we could get the project rolling.
Yes.
And at that time, he said, yeah, go ahead. You can do siding, you can do, we'll get this electrical permit. We got that rolling. And then, for the rest of the work, I found out that there was a stop work order on it. So that's where we are now. I haven't done anything else since since I found out about the stop work order. I went by to try and talk to Angel as well as the neighbor on the other side, just to say hi, let them know what was going on, what the process was. And here we are applying for the variance. So.
Okay. All right. Does the board have any questions?
Yeah, on the west side and on that photo, I noticed that there's no guttering on it presently. Are you going to put guttering on that part so it doesn't directly hit the fence? When the
Yes.
rainfall?
So I don't think so we have put gutters on it since this photo.
Okay,
So there are brand new gutters.
Hmm.
I even offered to put in like a French drain along the fence to make sure no drainage would affect the fence. I'm even willing to take care of repair of the fence should anything happen from our side of the property.
okay. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any other questions from the board?
You said you offered to put the French drain in there, but you haven't done that yet.
I offered to put the French drain in, and I think there's just so much confusion and anger about the addition already that there's just no real mutual understanding of what was going on. So
Okay.
nothing ever happened.
Okay.
I'm still willing to do what needs to be done to make sure, to right the wrong. Should I have done more due diligence? Yes, absolutely. I know that now. But moving forward, we either cut 2 feet off the side of the house, which is expensive, or I haven't made that plan yet based on what happens tonight. So.
Okay. All right. Well, if we have no more questions, we'll have you have a seat. We'll probably bring you back up if we have any additional comments and questions. All right. Now I have time for public response. So now's your turn to come back up, please. Again, just say and spell your name and your address and that.
Thompson. 35 East Michigan.
All right. Thank you. All right.
Yeah, we didn't know when somebody was, doing the house. We didn't realize, but then we found out that there's 3 feet from the fence to the house. And I have been told that it should be 6 feet from the fence to the house.
Yes.
So that's what we were concerned about, and that's all I have to say. I
Okay.
mean,
All right. All right. Do you have a survey by any chance? Again, this is not an indictment or anything. I'm just curious.
I.
There's a lot of these
I
properties don't.
mean,
Okay. Oh,
I
I'm just
haven't-
I'm just asking. Okay.
I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, it's
a lot
only-
of them don't.
we had the fence put in, I don't know, Corey, 10 years maybe.
Okay.
So he put the fence in, and then we will like to have dogs and everything,
Well, sure.
so.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, thank you for your concerns. And again, that's why we are here tonight is,
Yeah, the one concern I had was that I just thought, they said, I've been told it needs to be 3 feet over, 6 feet. from
that is correct. 6 foot is the side setback, right, Adam? Yes, 6 foot is, unfortunately, when he bought the property, this illegal non-conforming has now set at 3, and that's why we're here tonight is what can we do to come to an understanding on this because he bought it as is. So, all right, thank you so much.
I have a quick question
you
for you.
do.
Are you having any issues along that area with drainage or anything like that?
I don't know, we haven't.
Okay,
No.
okay.
Do you know how long this not illegal non-conforming was put on?
2022.
Oh, so it's been on since 2022. Okay. All right. Yeah, I know. I'm very much aware of this house. I've passed it many times and yeah. Yeah. It's so tiny. Yes.
Yeah, it used to be not so bad, but over the years, I've been there for so long.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. All right. We have time in the agenda for government comments. Oh my gosh, not one tonight. Okay. Moving on. So we don't need to bring the petitioner back up because we don't really have any clarification questions, but does the board have any clarification questions from Adam or from the petitioner? All right, well, I guess I'm to the point where I'm looking for a motion to approve with conditions or deny.
I'll move to approve to allow the addition closer to than 6 foot to the side property line.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, all right, motion carries. All right, well, congratulations. All right, give us a minute on this paperwork, and then we have one more. Let me get this one. All right, the last one on tonight's agenda is variance 09-2024 at 3249 West 1000 North, Debo Cook, Lot 3. Adam, can you give us this last presentation, please?
All right, and the last case before you tonight is a request by Paul Deaton of Debo Properties LLC for the BZA to hold a public hearing and approve a setback variance for a planned 42,200 square foot commercial light industrial building at 3249 West 1000 North. This is in the new industrial park that's forming on the west side of town, right off of 1000 North or 96th Street. In fact, it's just a little bit west of the Flatrock Self-Storage that we had looked at the beginning. The zoning on this property is industrial light, and the user of the building will be a company called Surface Prep. They signed a 10-year lease. And just for your background, the concept plans, including the site plan, landscape, building elevations, and lighting, were all approved by the Plan Commission a couple of days ago. And if we take a look at a recent aerial, you can see the property in question. In this case, off to the east is that CLM property. Off to the south is the Deaton's Waterfront Services complex. Off to the northwest is a light industrial building that would house a few different businesses, including Caliber Collision. And of course, there's some farmland and unincorporated Hancock County off to the west. Here's just another bird's eye image. If we need to refer to this, we certainly can. In terms of zoning, again, light industrial, it's I-2 to the east, IG in Hancock County to the west, and then off to the north is PUDR in the city of Fishers. And if we take a look at some of the photos, you can see the detention pond that's off to the north, up along 1000 North. And then this photo is on the property itself looking north. It's a little bit further down from that original photo. If we look to the building off to the left, this is that new Caliber Collision building over here. And the building that they're looking to put up is very similar in architectural appearance to that. And then this is a photo looking east. So you can see off to the south is the Deaton's Warehouse, Deaton's Waterfront Services over here. And then in this area is where that new building would be located. And so this is where the setback would be 10 feet is what they're looking for. So the zoning ordinance would require in this case that would be considered a side yard setback. And ordinarily they'd have to have a 25-foot setback. So again, they're looking for just 10 feet. Note the way that we've done setbacks here is the west would be a front setback because that driveway is functions in an easement. We consider that a front setback of 50 feet. North would be a side setback, 25 feet, and east would be a rear setback of 50 feet. So just so you can understand how that would work. For the three items, the general welfare test, again, there's no evidence to support, in my view, that any of these items would be impacted in terms of public health, safety, or morals. Secondly, for adjacent property, there's no evidence to support that any of those items would be impacted. Additionally, the same property owner Mr. Deaton owns the built-out property to the south. And so this new building, even at a 10-foot setback, would still sit about 140 feet away from the Deaton building. And then for the practical difficulty, if the 25 feet needs to be adhered to, it would result in a smaller building and or a tighter turn radius for tractor trailers making deliveries on the north side of the building, which would cause some difficulty. There is no known remonstrance to this case. All of the public hearing notification requirements have been completed, and therefore my recommendation would be that you approve the request on the basis that it meets A, B, and C of the decision criteria. So with that, if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to address those. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Adam. All right, does the board have any questions at this time for Adam? Okay. We have time for the petitioner if he's here to come up and say a few words about the request.
Yeah, my name is Ryan Rediger, Ryan Rediger. I'm a Steppenworth and Associates, the engineering surveyor for the petitioner. I just want to announce that we're here tonight, as well as the petitioner, Paul Deaton, to answer any questions. But I just want to thank Adam for the presentation for this project. And that one of the items I just wanted to reiterate was that I know drainage is a big deal. None of this impacts the existing drainage on either the east, south, or west. There's an existing swale in the south. We're not going to be impacting that. There's an existing swale on the east, and then there's an existing inlet on the west along that access drive. So this minimization of the setback shouldn't impact any of that as well. But I just want to express that. So we've been working with Adam and the county on making sure that works. So that's still going to get reviewed and approved, hopefully. So just want to let you know we're here, and if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. Go ahead and have a seat. May or may not bring you back up. We have time for public response for or against, or just some comments or questions regarding this request. Anyone on Zoom or in the audience? All right. Before I even ask about government official responses, nope. Okay. All right. Well, this should be fairly simple. Do we have any clarification questions from Adam or the petitioner? If not, then I am looking for a motion to approve, deny, or approve with conditions.
I'll move to approve, development standard variance is presented.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have Nathan on there or not? It's okay. It's unanimous, so we're good. All right. Motion carries. Did I forget something? No, I think I got that. Okay. All right. Well, congratulations. And I think that brings us to the end of our agenda. So do we have any comments of anything else anybody wants to bring up? All right. We've kept you all long enough. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm adjourned.
Thanks, Alex.
Have a good weekend, everybody.
You too.